Hey, my name is Marcus Jackson, Executive Director of Urban Bridge.
And I'm Tyler Green with Flourish OKC.
Yes, and we are meeting at the Bridge Impact Center where we mentor youth. We were asked to come and talk about trust, which we spent a lot of time working on and building.
Let's just jump into it.
All right.
How did we meet?
When we met, I was at Youth for Christ at the time. I had been there already like 10 years, and I had this vision to expand, the work of Youth for Christ into the neighborhood by way of a youth center. One of the Youth for Christ directors knew you. It was like, you should talk to Tyler, and I think that was like the first time me and you like talked face to face.
Yeah, I think I'd heard about Marcus before that moment. I think we were in different parts of the city, kind of working, figuring out what does, community development look like. You in your own context, me just kind of coming out of my own experience from traveling internationally and, studying community development, but wondering what it looks like in our city. Then we kind of got to connect around really this building, as you were saying,
Yes.
and like a fresh new vision that was being birthed in your heart.
Yeah.
That was really on the shoulders and learning from the work that you've had already been doing for years before that. So,
one of the things that crossed my mind is growing up in a Black community, like predominantly Black community, family, friends, circle of influence. You go into these situations, just honestly, just through like generational trauma, being told to not trust, a white person coming into things you're trying to do, whether it's business ideas, all of that. And that was something that I had to overcome personally. But one thing that let the guard down for me, or that helped bring my guard down with trust, part of it was the conversations we would have. It wasn't always about the work. Sometimes we talked about our families, we talked about different things we're into.
the approach that I kind of took to building trust was just really listening, showing up, just trying to be intentional about being vulnerable about my own kind of leadership journey, what I was working on, my own life, as we share a responsibility of just having a family and having marriages that we care about. That was just somewhat of the framework that I had in my mind as I'm trying to give language to what
Right.
we were actually doing.
Yeah.
But I think it was just kind of this consistent of kind of showing up at different places and being around each other.
I think we discovered that like we were like in the same, we're like in different parts of the city, but
Right.
we're in the same stage of life, starting something fresh, wanting to make an impact. And even though we're approaching it from different angles of getting those things done, through conversations, I think we figured out like, man, we have a lot more in common than we have different. We're building an actual relationship, and it sets a perfect foundation of trust. The crazy thing about trust is like it requires more action than it sounds. So it's like I can say I trust you, but what am I doing to show that there's trust? And I know for me personally, I feel like one of the most trusting things I can do to honor our relationship is just be straightforward, be honest. It's an actual principle of mine to not embellish or try to sell, you on anything, because it doesn't require all of that, And when relationships establish, you don't feel like you have to perform or do anything. It's just like, hey, I'm who I am, he who he is. We accept each other as we are. That's where I knew that there was trust.
When we first met, it was really around a funding opportunity in a project, and that didn't work out initially. But I think that like we kind of persisted, cultivated trust just through relationship, spending time together, listening, showing up at different things. But then I saw your faithfulness, just your creativity, your sacrifice already in the work in the community. And so when you just had this vision to really bring to life the Urban Bridge and really create this new community of care, I think based on that trust, we were like, all right, let's in some ways risk together, right? And so for me, like I was stepping into new opportunity within my own environment of advocating and designing and leading out with some of the things that we were engaging with. And so I think there was kind of a somewhat of a shared risk. I think you were taking way more risk than me, and I
don't know. I can't say that. I can't say that. I can't say that. I can't say I took more risk because I hadn't had the proof of concept. It was almost as if your trust in that scenario or at that season of our nonprofit, it actually created more responsibility for us. Because I'm talking to my team and I'm like, look, Tyler trusted me enough to like make this happen. And so we're going to make sure that we honor that really well. And because I value our relationship, and from there, it just created the runway we needed organizationally to get to a point to where other funders would trust us. It really put us in a position to be able to grow organizationally. I've learned a lot from you, when it comes to building relationships, building trust, all of those things, that it can happen organically if we just be patient, trust God in the situation, and not feel like we have to steer it a certain way.
Yeah, and I think, in somewhat offering that vulnerability of the process and how things work and just the opportunity, I think you've also been a good steward of that trust, not to, exploit that or not to like use it. And I think we're both kind of, we both have a high degree of respect for that trust and are trying to cultivate it.
I've learned that loyalty is earned through action. You definitely came in as a person of action, okay, Tyler, he's really like for me, he's really with me on this. And that's where I felt like that partnership feeling, and it was more than just a transactional.
Yeah. A piece of the partnership is capital. And I think that is a tool, but like you had my trust because you were showing up, like you're risking your reputation in your own community, doing the work, whether people see you or don't see you. That's the opportunity I felt like in the partnership for me that I was able to receive and learn from, because I can't create those things. We consistently, one of the things we do to kind of just keep trust flowing is once a month, we just have lunch together.
We try to eat at all the good spots.
From time to time, just invite other friends into that. I mean, we have those lunches, there's no agenda, but it's just hanging out.
There's so much relationally and organically that can be gained over a meal with no agenda.
Yeah, and I think now that we have this trust, I think it fosters even more kind of imagination and creativity for what could be and other things that we can continue to do together in our work together. Like I acknowledge there's a lot of different dynamics that you're having to deal with as the practitioner, as a leader, but I also feel like there's a lot of shared experiences right now. I think we're both kind of at the really beginning of our leadership, and we're trying to understand what it looks like to really care for our teams well. What it looks like, what voice we want to have out in the community. For me, it's just fun to have a collaborator in that. I think our end destination is the same.
Yes.
And so it's fun to have that journey together.
I'm grateful for that you opened yourself up to be someone that I can learn with and walk with me along that journey, while we walking together, because I feel like over the past 2 years, we've both grown in really big ways as leaders and in vision and all of those things. And so I appreciate you, man.
I think out of like the trust that we've built relationship. And to me, why that's such a big deal is that the space that our trust and relationship creates for our own repair and restoration in the work and not losing sight of that. So I'm grateful for just the opportunity to have that human connection in the midst of the work.
I feel like we've been gaining partners in the community, and I believe that partnerships last a ton longer, than a funding opportunity.